Hey, what's up, pro wrestling fans? Welcome to another edition of the Nation's Corner. Tonight is a special night. We have tag team action. Myself and John in South Jersey,
Yep.
live and in your face.
Yes, we are in your city. Well, no, we're not in your city. We're
I'm
in
in my
ours,
city.
but I am in my city.
Okay.
But just the tag team you never knew you wanted, but you have it. So here we go.
The question is, can they coexist?
Yes, that is indeed
We'll
the
find out.
question. Yes,
Stay
we
tuned.
will. Mm-hmm.
I want to just give a shout out to everybody in the chat. I see Neil's in there, John's in there. John was in early, so we gave him a pretend prize. It's a
Yes, we
virtual
have them.
prize. I hope you enjoy it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we don't have prizes.
And I do want to answer the question. I'll bring this up. Just a little behind the scenes, like when the intro is playing, we do kind of do a little dance.
Yes,
We do,
yes,
typically.
Yes. Real quick, also, I just want to give a quick shout out, besides everybody joining us in the chats. Also to Mongrovian Mike, who is normally here with us on Saturdays, is over at the having quite the weekend himself, doing a whole lot of Nation's Corner on location. Hashtag. Thanks, Deb. He was at the last match show last night in Brooklyn, New York, where Dave LaGreca was the guest ring announcer and posted a ton of pictures on his socials. Of course, having a good time. And he is following that up tonight with the 10th anniversary show for Create a Pro Wrestling. Their big show going on in Long Island tonight. So shout out to Mike getting out and about, especially after his surgery, and feeling fine and doing very well and out and about, getting to see what he wants to see.
Yeah, I was just it's looked like a really cool thing. I know I heard that I forget where I heard it. Might have been someone on Busted Open said that they're going to be touring with Last Match Musical, and I genuinely hope they do, because my wife and I love to go to musicals, and
I do
really
believe,
cool.
yeah, I do believe they I had read some similar things, and they were saying that they're over here by me, and I didn't even realize, or I might not even been hosting tonight. They're doing the show tonight over at the 2300/ECW arena in Philadelphia tonight. And then I believe they're working their way south down the East Coast. They're going to Baltimore, Virginia, and I do believe they are, I don't know how close there is, but I believe they're going to someplace down by you, front row.
Oh, I have to find out about that. Just real quick too. Speaking of the pictures, I did find it. Here's our very own Mongrovian Mike with the cast of Last Match Musical. So cool. Such a cool moment. Super jealous, but I'm super happy.
Yes. And shout out to Mickey James for holding that wonderfully created sign.
Yeah. Mickey James, who made her triumphant return to Busted Open this week.
Right. Right. But I mean,
there's RA.
There he is. I don't know. What are we going to talk about? I mean, just another kind of ho-hum week in wrestling. But
well, I want to kick off, and I think you and I are the right people for this conversation. Not that other people aren't, but as people who are supporters and maybe have some behind the scenes influence in women's wrestling, the stuff that went on this week, and I remember seeing, for those of you who haven't heard, for the 4 people that don't know, on Dynamite this week, there was a terrible fan shouting very vulgar and just awful stuff at Sky Blue and Rachel Ellering. And I remember seeing Saraya was interacting with this fan. We didn't know what was going on at the moment.
Right.
Fast forward, the fan gets ejected. And then, I think Rachel and Sky Blue and they all took to Twitter and sort of outlined this. And there's so I think the discussion and the question I have for you is, I hate to see stuff like this happen, but I feel like largely the bigger wrestling shows are a better experience for women today than they have been 10 years ago. And I only say that because I've asked people that are not not me, people who are women. But so how do we continue to drive stuff like this out?
I can have a I can give you my normal response. I am the heavy of the show, and is you don't put up with it. Just for a and a general decency point. Now we all know people who are, and especially women, these are, mothers, daughters, aunts, sisters, what cousins, whatever. But there's no place for it. Period. There's no place for it at your local indie show. There's no place for it on television. Nowhere. And in general, my thing is if you're looking to win the lottery and wind up with a mouthful of teeth, run your mouth disrespectfully at a show in my presence or within earshot of me, because I'm absolutely going to walk right up to you, not only express how wrong you are and how you should correct your behavior, but if you want to, listen, there are far too many people that gotten way too comfortable saying whatever they want and not getting punched in the mouth.
Okay, so understand that you're just one man with one AK-9K. You can't be everywhere.
That's right. I can't. No, I can't be. I try, but I can't.
Try as you might. I think it's a cultural thing too, and in fact, like the couple times, well, I've seen this. I haven't seen it at that level, but I've definitely seen some crappy behavior. I feel like in the last 5 to 10 years, more 5 years, I guess, there's been a shift in the fan base where they sort of self-police stuff like that. And I think Tommy even said, like, the fans around that guy were telling him to shut up, and they were trying to shut him down, and he might have been drunk and belligerent or whatever. But like, I was at an NXT show pre-pandemic here in Charlotte, and a guy was being shitty and threw a single dollar bill at the ring. One of the women, I forget who was in the ring. The fans turned on him and they came and took him right out. That was it. It was the last we saw of him.
Right.
I was like, okay.
I'll agree, especially with your bigger promotions. I'll agree. They do try to police and keep stuff like that to a minimum as much as possible. But we as fans, we got to be better. We have to do better. Just you just can't say, the guy's just there's no excuse for the behavior, period. And the whole thing is and I'm going to sound slightly Neanderthal for a second, but it proves my point. Why don't we see more women at wrestling shows? Why are we basically all going to sausage parties? Be honest, those of us old enough to remember, the old punk rock and heavy metal shows, you didn't see any women. Why? Because we all ran around like animals and behaved like absolute cretins. That's why you didn't see women. And those you did were ones you didn't want to mess with anyway, because you're probably going to get your ass kicked. Well, that's kind of the same mentality that we're seeing now, but we have to be better. That was then, this is now. The days of, we are far, far beyond the days of women in wrestling just being an attraction. Just being, something to ooh and ah over. These are legit serious athletes out there performing at the same, if not higher levels than any male wrestler that you are a fan of or watch consistently. And our attitudes and our behaviors of the past have to evolve with that. And yes, I agree. All of these women in any wrestling, yes, they are extremely athletic. They are beautiful. They always look on point with their gear and their gimmick and everything. But that it's still, there's still no excuse for that. Respect them for what they are, not what kind of whatever weird fantasy you have in your head.
Yeah, 100%. And I think the saying, like, see something, say something. I think we as fans, okay, we know, like, all the people that we know would never do that. Like, we don't have a group of friends that would be shitty at a show.
Right.
But I think being a better fan from that perspective means helping to cultivate a community of wrestling fans that are more positive and a safer space. Like, okay, if there's a bad guy in the ring, if there's a female heel in the ring, say whatever you want character-wise. You suck, you're terrible, whatever. Boo the bad guys, cheer the good guys, all that stuff. We all know what that's supposed to look like. right? Go back to Backlash and look at France. They understood the assignment for 4 hours.
Perfectly.
Right? They booed the bad guys, cheered the good guys. They sang along to everything. They didn't sit down once. Like, that's the model for a fan base. And I think that we as fans, especially male fans, like, we need to do a better job of shutting stuff down when it happens. I've had conversations with people at shows before that were uncomfortable, but you know, when one person says something, usually like 3 or 4 more people pop up and go, yeah, sit the fuck down. Like,
Yeah.
And sometimes you get a crowd around you to support them, and then they're like, oh boy, I better shut up. Or there was
I still risk it.
So I'll tell a quick story. I don't know if I've told this on the show, but Shannon and I were at a Ring of Honor show pre-pandemic, and we were second row, and the guy sitting right behind us was drunk, and he was saying all kinds of stuff when Deonna Purrazzo, I think it was Deonna Purrazzo, and we kept telling him to shut up. And then I looked over and I saw the security guard. He came over, let's go. And that was it. That was the last we saw of him.
Yeah. Like I said, they, for the most part, there's a general improvement. And I think it's one of the things, it may not ever go away per se, or, you know, you still may have incidents like what happened with Sky Blue and that fan and everything else. You're probably just going to see that. Unfortunately, I don't think we'll ever get rid of it. But like I said, I think we as fans have to, you know, be better, do better. That, you know, because now not only are you being disrespectful to the wrestlers and the talent in the ring, it's disrespectful to people around you, because now nobody wants to go and hear some guy, you know, drunk, sober, whatever, saying a whole bunch of just awful stuff about another person, taking you out of that experience, you know. And for the simple fact, you know, we haven't checked, AEW and WWE tickets for the most part aren't cheap. So here's a big night out, and I'm gonna have some drunk asshole that thinks he's at some sort of half-ass strip club, thinking that he can say, dude, you know how much money I paid for this night, and you're ruining it. Guess what? You're gonna have a problem, and that problem is me.
And Ari put something in the chat I want to poke. It has nothing to do with their attire. Just do better. It's interesting because Denise brought this point up on Busted Open today about, you know, the narrative that, like, well, if you weren't wearing something sexy, people wouldn't be shouting stuff. And she goes, first of all, that is not true. She's like, I wore sweatpants and had the same stuff happen to me. She goes, and second of all, I shouldn't have to I shouldn't have to dress down so that people don't, like, accost me. Like, that's not the world we should be living in. And I 100% agree. Especially when we talk about, you know, female wrestlers, they're in wrestling gear, which tends to be minimal, which it is for the men as well. Look at Finn Balor, like, you know, so that just shouldn't happen. So anyway, I just wanted to bring that up because it was a hot topic this week, and I hope that people who are good, supportive people continue to use their voices to help build a better community. Okay, so let's talk some actual wrestling. There's a lot of shit that went down this week.
Sure.
I kind of want to focus on King and Queen of the Ring real quick. Well, not real quick, because there's a bunch of stuff to go on. First of all, I think this is awesome. I love that they have this. I still have different feelings about the Saudi shows. I can look at it from the perspective of, like, I don't agree with their laws or their culture. Like, you know, I have personal connection there. Like, my son is gay, and I don't like to support people who aren't supportive. So, in fact, it's illegal. However, I've also heard from people who have traveled there on these shows, and they said, well, the culture is changing. WWE is one of the organizations that's helping to drive change in the culture. We're seeing more women in the shows. We're seeing a Queen of the Ring being crowned there. Like, I didn't ever think I'd see that as a thing. So I'll quietly watch from home. They're not getting my money, but I will support the women who are doing the thing over there. So it was a busy week this week for this tournament because because the first round matches almost all of them happened except for I think 4. And 4 of them are happening at live events tonight and tomorrow night, which is super cool.
I really do like that particular tie into this because while we have seen all this before, and the king and queen. I mean, Queen of the Ring is fairly no. I think it's the second time they're doing, but King of the Ring has been around for quite a while. I really like this new wrinkle with it. Now that they're actually doing the live events as well for the first round. I hope it continues. I mean, obviously, we're going to see the finals in Saudi, but I think it's just one of those little small wrinkles that the Triple H Paul Levesque era has brought about to us. That again, taking a tried and true concept and making it fresh.
Yeah, so I have the schedule here. That these are the only the first round matchups are going to be on live events because the rest will be on TV, which makes sense.
Okay.
I'll just run down real quick because I want to get your picks moving forward. And the 4 matches that are being contested on the live events this weekend are Kofi Kingston versus Rey Mysterio. Over on SmackDown, we've got LA Knight versus Santos Escobar. For the women on the Raw side, we've got Shayna Baszler versus Zelina Vega. Excuse me, and Tiffany Stratton versus Michin on the SmackDown side. So I like the way that they did this. They have 1 men's match and 1 women's match from each of the brands. So you've got 4 matches contested over 2 different live events. So you've got a Raw branded live event and a SmackDown branded live event with multiple contests. So
right.
Okay, so based on that, let me get your picks. Kofi versus Rey.
First and foremost, and I said this about another match last night that was on SmackDown that I'm sure we'll talk to, but in another time and place perhaps, Rey Mysterio versus Kofi Kingston is a pay-per-view main event, and here it is on a live show. But and that aside, that being said, I am going with the Hall of Famer. I think Rey is enjoying this resurgence, especially with LWO and the things going on with that. And it's a pick 'em, honestly, but I'm going to side with Rey Mysterio.
Okay, so Gunther beat Sheamus in what was an unbelievable brawl, just a fight.
Yes.
So the winner of the Kofi Rey match faces Gunther.
Go, congratulations. Okay.
You've won violence. Congratulations.
Yes. You've won a very sore and red chest.
Does that impact your decision?
No, because I obviously both guys are going in knowing the fact, obviously at this point, that you won, but that's your prize. You get to step in the ring with the ring handler out.
All right, so my pick will be Kofi then. Over on SmackDown side, we have LA Knight versus Santos Escobar facing Tama Tonga, who beat Angelo Dawkins on Raw on SmackDown.
Yeah, late replacement for an injured Bobby Lashley.
And in the chat too, you guys in the chat, throw in your picks too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let us
know who you thinking or what you're liking on these matchups. I have to go with LA Knight. He is still, especially on SmackDown, one of the top guys. I'm not saying that Santos isn't capable of beating him or catch him slipping and catch one real quick, but the way that's gone, besides just fantastic matches, the way they've gone so far with this tournament, you kind of look at matchups, and this one in particular that I'm like, yeah, this is LA Knight going on to the next round.
I think the problem for me is like Tama Tonga being in the tournament at all is wonky to me, just because there's a whole path and a storyline for them. Like, so do you protect the fact that he's new and you don't want him to lose so early on? But then at some point he's going to lose, like, unless he wins the whole thing, but that doesn't make any sense either.
No.
So, but from a good guy, bad guy perspective, LA Knight makes sense. Now, if Tama Tonga was going to lose this round, I would put him against Santos because Santos has backup.
Sure. Well, I think more. I don't know if it's a question of Tama Tonga winning or losing per se, but to me, I look at it. This isn't. It might not be the most ideal way, but it's not that bad of a way to introduce him and get people in the WWE universe familiar with him, at least from an in-ring standpoint. You can have him cut, 100 promos, but people still may or may not be invested or interested in him until they see him work in the ring. And to be honest, this tournament and him going far in the tournament absolutely gives him that in-ring work that'll make more of an impact on the fans than just having them do promos or just appearing with the bloodline.
Okay, that's interesting. So if we, and we're going to talk about this in the coming weeks leading up to the finals, but if we project that, if Tama Tonga makes it to the finals against Gunther, losing against Gunther is not a negative.
No, not at all for him.
Okay. All right. So the winner of the Tama Tonga LA Knight match, which comes up SmackDown on May 17th. So next week's SmackDown. Quarterfinals are this week on Raw and SmackDown. Semifinals are the following week, and then that weekend is the pay-per-view, the PLE.
Right.
Okay, so those matches are set. We're going to see Ilya Dragunov versus Jey Uso. I mean, I'm such a fan of Ilya Dragunov. I'm glad he's on the main roster.
Again, another pay-per-view quality match, just as a qualifier, so to speak, in this tournament.
Yeah, it's wild. I mean, like next week we're gonna get Randy Orton versus Carmelo Hayes.
Well, how about that match last night on SmackDown? Randy Orton versus AJ Styles. Again, another time and place. That's a pay-per-view main event.
Sure.
And them two, here are two older guys in the further than the beginning of their career, went out and cooked for about 20 minutes. Sure. And put on, exactly the type of match you would expect from Randy Orton and AJ Styles. And again, that was on free TV.
Yeah. Quick shout out to Sam in Cleveland. What's up, Sam?
Sam.
Oh, Sam. There he is.
And Rostafa joining us. Anyway.
Yeah. So that's going to be interesting. And then over on the women's side, as I said, for the live events, we have Io Sky versus Natalia. No, I'm sorry. Where were we? I missed it. Oh, here we go. Shayna Baszler versus Zelina Vega. So Zelina versus Shayna. I have to go Shayna.
Yeah, Zelina doesn't catch lightning in a bottle twice. It was cool the last time and everything, but no, not this time.
And we have Michin versus Tiffany Stratton. And for me, Tiffany's doing a great job going back and forth. Like she did some stuff on NXT, like she's up on the main roster now. I don't see her losing. I think Tiffany, if my pick to win this whole thing is either Tiffany or Chelsea. Is Chelsea in it? No, Chelsea's not in it. Chelsea, I want to win Money in the Bank. That's right.
Yeah, right now, honestly, for the women's side, I see it coming down to basically Jade and Tiffany.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, it can't because they're both SmackDown talents.
Oh.
So, I mean, it might come to them, Jade against Nia next week, and then if Tiffany makes it past, if Tiffany beats Michin, then she'd face Bianca Belair. If she beats Bianca, she might face Jade, but she's not beating Jade.
Yeah, I don't think so, and that in itself makes it to me a little wonky because you just had Jade and Bianca come together as a tag team, become women's tag team champions, and now they're, basically, and forget the visual dynamic of those two. Could either one of them absolutely win? Sure, but then if you look past that, it's then what? Because now what do? Do you have if one of them if Bianca or Jade were to win, I have a feeling that being King and Queen of the Ring is going to return to more of a traditional King of the Ring format where it actually kind of means something other than just a crown and a scepter and be able to call yourself King or Queen for a couple months. I think there's going to be a chain where it would lead to something more, but you just have them as female tag team champions. So you're going to basically put one above the other when you're still establishing them as this dominant champion tag team. So to me, that's a little wonky, but as usual, and as we have all learned to trust, let it play out. Everything counts, and wait and see what happens.
Yep. The 3 rules of Not Sam Wrestling: watch the product, speculate wildly, and everything counts.
Mm-hmm.
I live by those daily. Or maybe not. Okay, so we have Shayna over Zelina. We have Io already won her battle with Natalya. So now we have Lyra Valkyria versus Zoe Stark next week. Nia Jax versus. See, now Nia versus Jade next week is going to be great, but I think Jade has to win that. She's too new and she's too dominant. What I'm interested in, like, if we get Tiffany versus Bianca, Tiffany has to win that, but then we get Tiffany Jade. It's on the other side. The Lyra versus Zoe Stark match this week will face the winner of Io versus, well, the winner of the match this weekend. So let's say it's Shayna. So Shayna versus Io. Io would probably advance and then face. I think you put Lyra Valkyria in a good position here.
I do. And again, another fantastic match with Zoe and Lyra. I'm not sure though. Io goes over in that match though. Damage control
against Shayna.
Damage control has been on a bit of a skid as of late.
Well, what if Shayna goes over Io, Zoe goes over Lyra, and now you've got Zoe versus Shayna?
To me, that's the most interesting matchup, because we know absolutely it's going to be super physical, super hard hitting. But you're right. Here's another situation similar to a Jade Bianca thing. Here's 2 friends having to face off with each other, and partners and everything else. Now it's, do they use that to do something between Zoe and Shayna going forward, or do they have a fantastic match? Winner wins. They shake hands at the end. Code of honor, raise each other's hand. I don't know, but I love the match. Yeah, and I love the idea of the match. I absolutely love the match.
The only problem that I see with it is I still feel like they're establishing them as a team. I don't feel like they've shown them on screen a bunch of times together, but I want to see more stuff like new kayfabe stuff. I want to see social media posts. I want to see them, beating up assholes in a parking lot. I don't know, something.
Right? Yeah, a little more bonding. Yeah, more bonding between the 2 of them.
Something.
If they're really going to go with them as a team.
Yeah, it's interesting. Just a side note, because Dave was talking yesterday, I think, about when Raw goes to Netflix, and of course there's now a tiered service there. They have one with commercials and one without commercials, right? And of course the Peacock model is the same way, where if you pay for the commercial-free version, you just get to roll on through the show. But like on premium live events, they don't cut to commercial, but they cut to pre-produced packages.
Right.
And those packages sometimes are exclusive to that. Like, you don't see them pop up maybe on social media, but I've seen stuff on the PLEs that are in place of the commercials where I'm really glad I paid a couple bucks extra for commercial free, because it's real content. Like, it's good stuff. So I wonder if they're going to do that on Raw as well. And the reason I bring that up is these are the things they can use those spots, that real estate, to tell these bonding moment stories.
Sure. Develop further the story. Why are we saying, they've always done they've always done an excellent way, especially during the PLEs with those of, yes, obviously you're tuned in for that match or whatever, but they do such a great story of kind of connecting the dots or giving a little different perspective that gets you that much more excited. And you're right, that would be a perfect opportunity, because they've done that. They even did it on Smackdown last night. You are, and even on Raw, you had a little kind of promo video from Lyra after she got called up, and a little thing from her. You saw Andrade last night. Shinsuke who is coming to SmackDown. come out and do one of his great, Japanese with subtitle promos that we've all come to love about that. Those things, now if you have a chance to do that longer format and to span to say a commercial break or something for Netflix, absolutely. I could see that absolutely being part of it.
Yeah, it's there's a lot of possibilities there, and I have so much faith in their ability to give us creative like things like
creative
like
content.
Content, yeah.
Things
like Jeremy Borash and his team do such a great job with those profiles videos.
Yeah, they do. They absolutely do. And I think now with Netflix, I also, given also the fact that it's Netflix and let's just say restrictions seemingly will be much less, if any. Now you have that element as well. For those that are fans of New Japan Wrestling and have watched especially promos and press conferences and interviews from New Japan Wrestling, the Japanese don't believe in language restrictions. And you hear some very spicy, colorful language from a lot of New Japan wrestlers just basically cutting a basic promo. We could absolutely see that, and of course, within reason. You're not just going to have someone come out and drop 15 F-bombs and then say, throw the mic down and walk away. Well, you might, but it would be in context. But, you can have that now that you can even see that element to it. And again, that makes me more excited to see exactly what Raw looks like when it gets to Netflix.
I'm going to disagree just a little bit because I think Netflix didn't pay $5 billion for a product that's currently PG and then just to have it go to a PG-13 or an MA rating.
Okay.
I think that they're looking at WWE like Disney. They're a family product. And I know everybody sort of is up in arms about language restrictions and all that other stuff, and I get it to a certain extent. But if your audience is this big, if you start cursing and you have to put restrictions on it, it shrinks the audience. It just does. Whether you like it or not, that's just the metrics of it. As soon as you narrow the focus of your content, it limits the amount of people that are watching your product. It just does.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of doing stuff like they did. Okay, here's what I would do, and I love what they did during the storyline because they bleeped out all of the stuff with The Rock on TV because they have to.
Yes.
And then they turn around and The Rock puts all of it out uncensored on his video.
Yeah, that's because people, of course, everybody wants to hear the curse words because and even like as we sit in our Zoom rooms and we all make a joke about it now. But here's the old man over out there in Long Island saying, why can't we say holy shit? No, they have to be. You gotta go holy, and it's a joke at this point, but something like that. And the thing is yes, they're bleeping it out, but come on, we can't be that dumb and naive that we don't know what is being said.
Yeah, I mean, like we understand, like on Smackdown, there's federal regulations. The FCC governs Smackdown. It's on Fox. We get it. Like Raw, all right, Raw and NXT are on USA. Like cable restrictions don't exist because they can say whatever they want. It's just based on what their comfort level is with the sponsors, and that's just not the product that they're presenting. And even in the room, they're usually pretty careful about that stuff. Although, if you've been to a WWE event, which is pretty much everybody, there's a lot of cursing going on that you don't get, that the camera doesn't pick up.
Sure.
So,
sure.
Which is a special treat for the people in the room. I wanted to talk about something that I genuinely didn't like this week, and CM Punk is an incredible promo. I love what he's doing in WWE. I feel like he has enough freedom to do what he wants to do. But I thought this was a big miss this week. The whole, I'm going to stand there and I'm going to threaten, and then I'm just going to stay here until Drew shows up and then he leaves.
Right.
It's equivalent of a parent saying, I'm going to count to 3, and if I get to 3, we're leaving. Right. And then you count to 3 and you don't leave. It's the same thing. Like CM Punk said he was staying there until Drew McIntyre came back, and then he gave up and left. Like,
Right.
what was that? So
it was it was absolutely a bit of a disconnect because and they even touched upon it on Busted Open, and we talked about it in Zoom. You know, because you knew at that point when Punk said, "I'm not leaving this ring. I will hijack and stop the show until he shows up." Well, okay. And I believe it was Dave was talking about it. Okay, at that point, you're thinking, all right, now seeing Drew McIntyre pull back into the arena, get out, all that stuff, and we're waiting, and we're waiting, and
they're
we're not.
waiting.
Yeah, and like Dave said, that Dave kind of make a joke out of it, but it's true. Well, maybe Drew's driving and he can't be on his phone to look at it or know what's going on, or he
He's a
can't take
safe driver.
He's a safe driver riding around in that $500,000 car he rolled out in, but something like that. But again, we're waiting, and it was almost like Punk was like, all right, and just got out of the ring. Nothing else other than that. So you're right. I think it was a huge miss on their part that even if they had done something like have Adam Pierce come out and say, you're not into this and that. You want to wait here, that's fine, but I have a show to do. This is live TV. These folks didn't come here just to see you stand in the middle of the ring. They're here to watch wrestling. They're here to see action. Now, this and that. You want to go wait in the back for Drew, go wait in the back for Drew. But right now, get out of my ring. Even if they did something like that, just something to kind of tie it up that it wasn't Punk just basically just saying and walking out. So, yeah, I think overall, big miss. But it's hard to argue against how good Punk and Drew, especially in all this, in wake of everything that has transpired already, how good it is and how good it continues to be and is going to be, especially once both of them are healthy and actually able to get in the ring.
Yeah, another thing that I noticed, and you and I are both car guys, Punk pulled in what I think was a 76 Z28.
81.
81. Okay, but it wasn't like it wasn't the Smokey and the Bandit car. It wasn't anything special. Like it wasn't a Firebird. Yeah. It was an old brown and tan, like I'm like,
hey, once upon a time that was like one of the cars to have, back in the early 80s. That was the epitome of American performance at the time. But yes, very cool old school. I mean, opposed to Drew leaving out, and I think that was what, a Ford GT he had or something. That is legitimately $500,000. And he's just got, I still want to know how that large Scottish man got into those things, because Drew and I are roughly the same height, and well, he's in slightly better shape than I am. I don't fit in one of them. I've tried to sit in one of them. I don't fit. So for him to slide in and out of that, and I knew I was right about it because even Pat McAfee mentioned how graceful he was getting in and out of it on his show. But to see Drew was impressive. And then here's the other thing. Here's Punk showing up, and still a very classic car, but nothing compared to what Drew was driving.
No, it was more like. It was more corporate versus blue collar type of thing. It was an interesting,
sure.
It was an interesting note. Okay, so if we're throwing out negatives, let me bring a positive into the conversation. I am a huge fan of Lee Fitting, and he is the executive producer that took over for Kevin Dunn, and the production elements, the long shots, the continuous. All of it is working in a big way. It's
right.
So engaging. It's so interesting. And it's challenging to do that shit on live TV. And they haven't missed it.
No, they have not.
Because I was listening to Sam Robertson and Peter Rosenberg released a pod this week together. And they were both talking because they both work backstage at WWE. They're like, when they block a shot backstage, they clear the room, they clear the hallway, everything, and they make sure there's production people to stop anybody from crossing the shot. They don't do that here. They just go and I'm sure everybody knows it's going to happen, but when they do those long shots, when they're coming from the parking garage, through that whole area, and they showed Punk talking to people and, hey,
Yeah.
how's it going? And whether they were planted or not, it doesn't matter to me. It's a fantastic shot. It's live.
Yes.
And you know it's live because they go all the way through Gorilla, and
Yeah.
there they are. And then the cameraman comes around the front, and Punk waits for him, and then he does the clobber in time. Like, it's perfect.
Yeah, it's such a great thing, and we're even seeing it now. Obviously, we're seeing it on Raw and SmackDown. You know, they did it not this past week, but the week before on NXT with Trick Williams. Same thing. He came right through, and they did, not quite on the grand of a scale, but did the whole one continuous shot for him to go out into the NXT arena when he was now being heralded as the NXT champion. The overhead shots that they're doing, and I have seen a couple different things about how they're doing it. Some people are saying it's a drone. Some people, I don't care what it is. I think it's an absolutely fantastic angle that they bring in. Again, another element of that, along with the long shot, that it gives you a different look and perspective from what we normally have seen or have seen in the past from the different cameras in the hard cam on regular TV.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about too, because it was during the winter. They had a drone, and it was a drone because the drone was over the building. The drone came down, went through right over the crowd and through the opening and into the arena. An amazing continuous shot, live.
Mm-hmm.
And John Bay. I mentioned Lee Fitting. Lee Fitting is the guy that is now the director. I don't know who works under him, but he sort of has overall responsibility for what you're seeing on TV.
Well, how about we just rejoice in the fact no more shaky cam that gave everybody nausea?
And that wasn't Kevin Dunn.
No. But
that was a guy named Marty who actually directed the cameras. He was a camera director. The director is not the same as the producer. It turns out. I'm a big fan of all this stuff that's going on right now. I'm a little confused by the Cody Rhodes Logan Paul thing. I know that that's just sort of a setup for the PLE champion versus champion, but I'm confused by it because it doesn't make sense to me for Cody to hold two titles right now. I don't think he just won. Like, putting more gold on him, I think, just dilutes his path. It's kind of wonky. And I think Logan Paul, as this really good heel, and we talked about this last night.
Yeah.
I hate the guy personally, but he's so friggin' good at what he does. Keep that title on him for another year. I don't give a shit. He's making it count.
As long as as long as the fans are responding to it, keep that belt on him.
And look at the visibility against. You mentioned that yesterday.
Yeah, you have to, and I, as we discussed front row many times, I agree with you. Logan Paul is a shit human being, but a couple of million people absolutely hang on that guy's every word. And here is people. This is a whole new demographic, and part of what makes me hate him as much as I do, even just in wrestling, is he has no right. This is a guy. He's a YouTube star. This guy has no right to be as good as he is in the ring and able to do what he can do during matches and be that good on the mic. And it makes me, I'm like, you know what? I've known people that have worked 10 years that haven't even gotten close to what you is. And here you are waltzing in now. I'm a little protective of outside people coming into wrestling and all that. But, again, and that makes it, and every time I say, God, I hate him because that's the point. You're not supposed to like him. You're supposed to be looking at him at like this is some internet clown that, he has no right being this good. But you have eyes that, again, I equated it like I did to you. I equate it to Taylor Swift with the NFL. Taylor Swift, of course, is dating Travis Kelce, plays for the Kansas City Chiefs. But here's a whole, literally an entire population of people that probably don't know anything about football, never knew anything other. I mean, may have known it exists. I'm sure they have a father or a brother who's a fan or an uncle or something, but they never watched, they never tuned in, they have no interest in it whatsoever. But just for the simple fact that they're a Swiftie, well, now we have to check this out. Well, it must be okay. Taylor's involved in. I love everything Taylor does, so I have to check it out. We have the same exact thing with WWE right now and Logan Paul. You know, this is a yet another population of people that have, you know, no clue or anything about wrestling, but simply he's involved in it. You know, they're checking it out. So here's the bonus that yes, you may not like him there, you may not like him, you may not like anything he does, but you cannot deny that one, the guy is very good in ring and out of ring. And two, he is bringing people that you normally would not see into wrestling.
Yeah, and like he has a massive YouTube channel. Obviously, his Instagram has like 28 million followers. Like it's a huge, it's a big platform with a massive reach. So I do like what they're doing. I just think it's kind of weird. I'm not a huge fan of the Cody logo. Let me rephrase that. I'm a fan of the matchup. I don't think it makes sense with the titles involved at this PLE.
I understand. Here's the thing. I look at it this way. It makes business sense. You want your champion a part of a PLE, especially in Saudi, where let's face it, everybody, including WWE, gets a nice fat bag of money to be there.
Right.
But again, here's the thing. This is the thing I don't like. And it's not that I'm against the matchup or anything, but the name of your pay-per-view is King and Queen of the Ring. Now you're going to bring your top champion in. Now what's your main event? Is the main event now Cody and Logan Paul over the fact of what you named your pay-per-view for? I don't necessarily agree with that. I'm not saying that Cody shouldn't be on it and probably doesn't, but you're already discounting the basis of your pay-per-view, which is to crown a king and queen of the ring.
Okay, so my my liberal brain, well, maybe not liberal, my wrestling brain would love to see Cody and Logan Paul open the show because, you know, that makes sense. Shenanigans, whatever, I don't care. Like, it's fine. Whatever happens, happens. I would love to see the women close the show out and crown a Queen of the Ring in Saudi in the main event. I think it'd be amazing.
I love that idea.
I mean, because it's equal. I mean, if I look at these matchups, and we don't obviously know what those brackets are going to end up like, but if we do get Gunther and Jade Cargill as your King and Queen of the Ring, pretty strong optics.
Yeah, it's very strong optics. And like I said earlier, I think King and Queen of the Ring is going to mean something going forward after this.
Yeah, I think so too.
Maybe not so much of a push or somebody gets it. I mean, obviously, now they get a title shot. But I think, you know, at one time, and if you look at the history, especially of the King of the Ring and people who have been King of the Ring in the past, it was a pretty good launch point, you know, and all I have to say, does the King of the Ring matter? Yeah, it does. Why? 2 words: Steve Austin.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that was a pretty important moment in the history of pro wrestling.
Right.
Two of the most famous catchphrases were born out of that one promo.
Yes.
Okay, so we got a few minutes left. Give me okay, this might be a challenge. I will admit it. I famously didn't watch to quote Nick Nemeth, I famously didn't watch much AEW this week. I did catch bits and pieces of it. So I'm really not able to speak to it much, but give me one good thing that came out of AEW that we should be paying attention to. Or maybe to me too. Whatever. However you think.
I'm paying attention to it, but for all the wrong reasons, unfortunately. And that's Mercedes Moné. I'm not. It's one of these things. I famously use a quote that Brian Johnson, the lead singer of AC/DC, said about the band U2. He goes, they're like a Saab. Everybody remembers the Saab cars from Sweden. They're really good, but you don't know why.
Yeah.
And that's where I'm at with Mercedes. I know Mercedes Moné, aka Sasha Banks, Mercedes Bernardo, whatever name you want to use with her, even her government name. I know she is really good. I know she is really good in ring. I know she's really good out of the ring. But again, and I don't know if this is her. I don't know if it's TK, if it's a combination of everything. This is just not, and it's absolutely foolproof the way they have it set up right now for it not to work. You have legitimately probably the biggest female baby face in that company in Willow Nightingale as her opponent. And it just isn't, just for me, it's not hitting. And we talked about the bad Def Rebel stuff going on in WWE. I'm sorry, I do not like Mercedes Renato, the CEO entrance. It's the music. I don't like that. And what they're doing with her as far as story, I'm paying attention to it for, like I said, I'm paying attention to it for all the wrong reasons, because I'm thinking you have this in a tailspin right now, and how are you going to pull out of it? And again, I still can't quite figure out why AEW has to have, to get the big name out and in some sort of a match. They booked this match at All In with Willow. She's not even cleared to wrestle, or hasn't been cleared to wrestle. Now, obviously, they wouldn't have booked the match if she wouldn't be ready by then, but still, we have not seen 1 second of in-ring work from her since she's arrived there. So
yeah, this is Double or Nothing, which is just a couple weeks. When Double or Nothing's coming up real quick.
And I want to highlight this real quick from Sam, and that's a good way to describe it. For a company that is famously, we don't script our promos. We just let them get on a mic and let it fly. But it came off anything but. It came out so scripted, and like I said, we know this isn't like this is some if Mercedes Moné was a Japanese wrestler for the last 10 years, and then coming over where you've seen bits and pieces of her but don't know a whole lot about her, it might be a different vibe. But dude, this was Sasha Banks, like one of the 4 horsewomen of WWE. We know who she is. We know what she is capable of. And this is just, to me, it's just such a bad version. Like I said, I'm paying attention because I have to see how they spin out of this, or even if they do. And I don't understand why or how. And I have faith that they can fix it, but not a lot.
Yeah, so I did see a lot of this stuff. So what we're talking about now was my least and most favorite thing about the show entirely. I'm a big fan of Willow because we saw Willow wrestle here years ago in Queens of Combat here in Charlotte. I think she was tag team with Faye Jackson back then. I adore her. She's a great person. I've been able to spend a little bit of time with her. She is that person that you see on TV. In no world should she be cutting a promo that's exponentially better than Mercedes Moné. And she did. She hands down had the better promo.
Yes.
Like not even close. And kudos to her for cutting that promo, because that might have been a career high promo for Willow, and she's getting better every time. That is a woman that is going to really lead that company into greatness if they let her continue to do what she's doing. She has a huge fan base. She's a massive baby face. Just keep going down that road because it's working in a big, big way. But I agree with you 100%. Mercedes Moné is it's all flash right now. It's all smoke and mirrors. There's no content. There's no content. There's no context to it. There's no. Yeah.
It's all sizzle, no steak.
Now that could all change, and I agree with Nick Nemeth. He's like, look, it's too soon. She just got there. She's not really in the ring yet. Wait till she gets in there and starts doing stuff. I'm like, all right, fine. But she's been cutting promos for months, and they've not been good. and now she is capable of greatness. We saw NXT Sasha Banks, the boss. Sasha is Ratchet. She is capable of cutting real good promos, but she has to be a heel. And right now she's too new and too big a deal to be a bad guy. What's complicated is now you've got a good guy, new person who is a massive star, and from what I understand, the paycheck is incredible.
Yeah.
I have heard rumors of 8 figures. I don't know if that's true or not.
It's a fat bag of money.
It's a lot. And I understand. So if you're paying somebody that much money, you're going to put them on TV and use them somehow.
You need to get that. You need to get some of that back.
A little ROI, right?
Yeah.
Little return on investment. But what we've seen hasn't really gotten me invested in, like the CEO thing. And I know she started that before AEW. That was a branding thing when she left it WWE. But it doesn't make any sense. Tony Khan runs the company. The CEO character, the title, like, it doesn't make any friggin' sense to me. So I'm obviously just gonna like hang out and see what happens. I'm fine, but right now I don't give a shit. But no, I shouldn't say that. That's not a fair statement. I want Willow to beat up Mercedes, which I guess is the point.
Yeah, and that's the only goal out of this. Then good job, AEW. You absolutely got us. Got me right where you want me to be, because absolutely I want to see Willow go in there and just mop the mat with her.
Yeah,
toss her around like the little tiny girl she is.
Yeah, I do. I'm sorry, I want to bring this back up. Match between Deonna Purrazzo and Lady Frost. Huge shout out to Lady Frost. When we were in Philly, she came running over, and we got a chance to catch up. Our whole group got a big group picture with her, and I adore her. She's awesome. Every time we get a chance to see each other in person, she's just good people, and I want her to win all of the stuff. I
want her to have all the
stuff,
all of it, and they do it. And again, screw you, TK, for putting me in the middle of this match with my OG Jersey girl Deonna Purrazzo and my good friend Lady Frost. How dare you? Why you do this to me? Why do you play with my emotions like this? Because I don't, like Neil just said, I gotta go Tommy Dreamer. I hope they both win. I hope it's some weird thing and they both win.
You know who's gonna win?
The fans.
The fans. Okay, we're on the same page. Yes. All right, John. It's been fun, man. It's our first tag team opportunity.
Look at that. We coexisted.
Maybe we'll win the titles next time.
Maybe we made it through this one, so that means we're in line for a title shot now because we made it through one match.
I think that's the rule.
I think that's how it works.
All right, cool.
Okay, so we have that to look forward to.
Till next time. All right, well, and just a little bit, make sure you keep using that Busted Open 24/7. They're paying attention. It's the hashtag that they pay attention to. The bigwigs, the zombies, whatever you want to say. Keep tweeting them because they see it.
Yeah. We're winning. We're winning. We're getting what we want.
Let's hope.
Have to stay on it and stay on them, because the second it slips, they're zombies. They have no brain. They only know what we tell them. So
yeah, I say that because it's going to be really interesting to see what content they do. If that becomes a reality, it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun, people.
Absolutely.
All right, John, where can people find you?
You can always get me, as it says there, at Twisted Metal Fab on the Instagram and the Twitter. I don't use the word X. I'm not a millennial. You can also follow the exploits of the most dangerous weapon in all professional wrestling. Of course, I'm talking about the AK9K Ass Kicker 9000. And you can catch up with him on Instagram at AssKicker9K. And as always, thanks, Deb. Hashtag Nation's Corner on location. Mongrovian Mike and I just had an interview premiere last night that we did with a gentleman, Sexy Ryan Peterson, who is a stalwart ring announcer for Creative Pro, Victory Pro Wrestling out in Long Island, out by Mike. And I've seen live a bunch of times. Very entertaining guy. We had a very interesting conversation with him, so check that out on our YouTube. And again, as always, hashtag Nation's Corner on location. If you're out seeing shows from the biggest WWE to your small indie shows, always let us know. Tweet at us, Instagram us with the hashtag Nation's Corner on location.
Agreed. And I am at PW Front Row on all the socials. I'm not on socials as much these days, but I'm going to try to pay a little more attention to it as we're getting bigger and bigger. Well, I like transparency, honest with the people, right? But so if you want to check out the show at Nation's Corner on X or Twitter and at The Nation's Corner across all the other socials. Shout out to our social media team for all the cool videos and posts that we've been seeing across all of our platforms. So thanks to everybody putting in the hard work. You guys have a great weekend. We're going to see y'all next week. We might have a special show next week. We're working on something behind the scenes, so stay tuned to our socials. So see y'all later.